Here we see Mike doing what we call the slide, just to make sure that the bungees, the arm and the legs, are not twisted, and it also feels great and gets you moving a bit. Now he's doing the very first one, which is called lumbar sort of rotation, supine, and this looks easy, but when you see real people doing it, if he didn't have this device helping him, his shoulders wouldn't be square, his head would probably be tilted back, he wouldn't be able to get such a deep stretch, and it's because he has these bungee cords attached to him, he's able to make his body do things that it normally wouldn't do when he's trying to do a really difficult stretch for most people. Most people can't even lie comfortably supine, as we call it, on your back. The head chin will be tilted up, one shoulder will be sort of torqued in one way, their low back won't be in the right position. In other words, it's not really working. It's just that you're aping someone who's doing it, and in this particular video that we saw, you have a man who is flexible. He's already flexible. He's a physical therapist, he's a personal trainer, and he does nothing but exercise or teach exercise every day. So of course, he's going to get very much from doing it. But if you're not this person, you're not going to get anything, because you have to have this kind of rotation in just the right part of your body. And as you see what he's doing, now here's a perfect one with hamstrings. It's the classic hamstring stretch. And for most people, to reach up and get their leg and hold it there, they're going to distort their whole upper body. But Mike instead has this long bungee that's attached right under his arm, and he can just hold the leg there and be comfortable while he's doing it. And his body is in the right position. He can even move it around a little circle like he's doing, so that in fact, he's getting more motion. He's getting into the mobility of it in a better way. You see how his arm is holding on to the other leg bungee? That stabilizes him, keeps him open, and he can actually breathe. Most people doing these stretches are so involved in trying to reach to the part they're supposed to stretch, they barely breathe, and that being the case, obviously, they're not getting too much out of it. So this is the point of Ti4, which is this device. We call it a wearable reformer. There's the reformer over there. It's 90 inches long, weighs 300 pounds, costs $5,000. Obviously, this weighs 8 ounces and costs almost nothing. So again, you see, he reaches up. He doesn't have to distort his upper body to go up and grab his thigh or his calf. And he can do this. I was cueing him to do this nice movement. And, it's better sometimes rather than to be static is to get a little bit of mobility. And he's breathing, and he's really feeling this stretch. In fact, a funny story is he started practicing a week before, and when he started here to do this, I told him he had to fake it a bit, but he didn't, because he was already more flexible. Now he's doing this Piriformis, the hip. Everyone's seen this. It's like they call it a 4. So what did he do? He doesn't want to have to hold on to all these things in such a difficult way. He wants to be comfortable. And so he simply has wrapped these bungees around this thigh, and he can hold it, right? He doesn't have to grab for it and reach, or maybe grab at his pants. He wants to lie there and really get into the stretch. Now, if you are already flexible, which of course is what you see when trainers show you this, well then, yes, you're into it. You get very deeply into it. But you have to, you really have to do 2 things. And you can't do it easily. Now he's going to go into this hip flexor kneeling. So this is difficult for most people. You have to balance, and you're only on one knee, And meanwhile, you have to move your entire torso forward and get this deep crease in your thigh there, where it connects. So he has these leg bungees to pull him forward, right? He's not really using the arms that much, but they are stabilizing his back because they're all connected. But you see, he gets so much more motion and it's deeper. Now he really needs it because he's doing this kneeling hamstring. And this is something that is very common, and most people really can't get deeply into it. You know, it's an awkward position. Everything we're doing here is to try to get something that is correct, so you get a benefit, and comfortable. And even he said, looking at him doing this one, he said, boy, am I stiff. Okay, now he's doing the other one, right? And of course, as everyone knows, one side is going to be easier than the other. Unfortunately, very few people are symmetrical, maybe 5%, which is where all the problems start. One side is different than the other. So again, this time he's not getting as much forward, but he's stable, it's comfortable, he's breathing, and he's enjoying it to some degree. Remember, he has the other bungee, the arm bungee, helping him so that he feels that he won't fall over, right? He doesn't have to worry as much about balance. He's more stable. This is just because he's totally connected, the bottom of his foot all the way up to the top. Again, look at this is a hard thing in this position to try to get into this hamstring stretch, kneeling hamstring. But it's a common exercise, and everybody learns it and everybody tries it, and very few people realize they're not getting anything from it. So just holding on to this leg bungee, he's actually getting more of the back of his leg to stretch, which is what he wants to do. So he's pulling the foot forward. There are a lot of anatomical terms I could use, but I'm keeping this to be simple because it's for real people. People who are physical therapists and trainers can do this. Okay, now we're going to see something really interesting. He's going to take the bungees and he's going to do an upper back rotation, but it's really now the arm bungees doing most of the work, but he just simply has this arm bungee around his knee, so it's more comfortable for him to twist, and the other arm bungee is stabilizing the other side. So here the leg bungees are not doing as much as they did in the other exercises, but they're still giving him connection and feedback. And remember, there's a lot of resistance on his body, 30 pounds. And of course, the harness is lifting him. So everything is really in the right position to work. And now here we have a man who is trying, and he has a lot going for him. He's young, and he doesn't have 30 to 60 extra pounds impeding his movement, but still, he sits all day, he's a tech guy, and he's tight. And stretching when you're tight is not comfortable. And pushing yourself to do it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it certainly doesn't feel good when you're not breathing properly and getting deeper into it. If you watch dancers stretch, they're almost in heaven. It's so pleasurable because they don't need to stretch. But more and more, this is really the most important thing you can do. And he also is on this very comfortable mat, which is part of what we call the half Cadillac. And, most people won't have this at home. So this makes it a better experience. Now look what he's doing here. He's crossing the leg bungees. This is really good. So that when he takes the arm bungees and reaches into them, he is getting more of a stretch. He has the feedback of this big cross in his center from these bungees. You have to try it and feel it. So, you know, he has, and look at that, his arms, he can extend them further because he's stretching from his back. He's moving his back forward easily and breathing into it. This is a very good stretch. Everyone knows this child's pose, but how many people do it properly or even can get into that position, right? So you see how this is working here. Everything is working. And eventually he will have a release, and then it'll feel good. And that's why we're trying to show how people can, at this point, they know all the exercises, everyone knows everything. Now we have to get them to work, right? Okay, so here's going to use a really interesting wrap. We call it the figure 8. And you see what he's doing? He's crossing the leg bungees, long bungees, and he's putting them over his feet. And that means he can sit up with ease. It's like someone is pulling him up. It's amazing to do this because you really want to sort of tilt back in your lumbar, your smaller back, and let go, and then your knees go up and you're not connected, and you know, on and on and on. But he is doing this with great ease. Now he's decided to cross the arm bungees and back, which gives you so much more support. And he can now do something that he wasn't really capable. He goes forward a bit, but he can go into extension. He's going into such a great extension in the upper back. He doesn't have to worry about the fact that he's just going to lose it and fall back, because he has these bungees, you see them, holding him up and connecting him with the sole of his feet. And then he has the arm bungees crossed. It's a lot of stability and connection. And he goes forward, and then on the inhalation, he can get more of the backward extension. Really nice. It's so obvious how helpful this is. Now he's going to do one more, and that'll fit, and this is called the upper traps. And you see how he's extending that arm, because he wants to have this opposition, you know, where he's moving in one direction and the head is going in the other direction. And for that to really work, you need enough space there and stability and opposition. You know, if somebody is looking at an expert do it, they don't see all those things, and they don't see themselves not doing it. And in fact, instead of getting that stretch in the upper traps, maybe they're creating a problem for themselves. They're certainly not comfortable. They're not breathing, but he's comfortable and he's breathing, and it's working for him. I mean, he just started doing it. I mean, if I do a video of Mike in a couple of months, he might look like a dancer. Okay, so this sort of completes this sequence, and we literally took it from some videos, one in particular on YouTube, millions and millions of views, because stretching for men is what people are talking about now. And it's important, people recognize it. So that's what they need to do. They know it. And they need a little help. So I told Mike I'm going to give him a little gift because he did such a good job. So I did it. It's a book. He's going to show it to you. It's called Everything Men Know About Women. It's a fabulous book. Looking at his face, you realize he thought it would be filled.
It's essentially an empty book.
Comments, but of course
I didn't expect
empty.
this.
So there he is. a tech guy reborn.